Hi everyone, my name is Karen and I'm excited to share the next few minutes with you. Here on Karen's Cook and Bake Therapy, we learn to make pastries, cook something together, and that is also we can enjoy a little bit of time with each other. I'm so excited that today we're going to be making banana bread together. Welcome. So for our banana bread, here are the ingredients that we're going to use. We're going to be using some cinnamon, salt, baking powder, baking soda. We have some plain yogurt. We have bananas, eggs, flour, margarine. Did I mention sugar? Yes. So these are our ingredients and it's going to be a quick and exciting time. You need 3 separate bowls. So we have our big bowl here, which is for our dry ingredients. We have this medium bowl over here, which is for our wet ingredients. And then this is going to be for a special mix for our bananas. It's a little bowl. So let's just go and dive right in. So let's start with our dry ingredients. I usually have my measuring cups. These are the ones I'm used to at home. I have some others that we tried previously, but I felt like they changed the consistency because with measuring cups, they're different, what can I call it? They have different amounts for different countries. I got these in Game here in Uganda. Game closed, but that means that these were from South Africa, and I find that their measurements are perfect. I've been using them for a long time. So just get your measuring cups, and if you don't have measuring cups, you can always transition and check online and you'll find the conversions and use tablespoons instead. So we have our measuring cups and we have our measuring spoons. This is a quick recipe, and so let's get on with it. For our dry ingredients, we need 1.5 cups of flour. We need half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So let's just do that right now. It's not good to scoop directly from the cup that you're going to use for your measurement. So what I do is I usually use another cup to try and measure. And you want to make sure that that's leveled. So that's 1 cup. And then I'm going to use another cup so we can get the 1/2 cup measurements and get it right. So let's do that. Okay, so we have our 1.5 cups. Usually I have my recipe book around to refer to, but I think I'll check. This is a recipe I've made many times, so I know it's off head. So we're going to put in a teaspoon of baking powder. You need to level that as well. So that's our teaspoon of baking powder. And then we're going to put in 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Where's my 1/4 teaspoon? It's right here. So 1/4 teaspoon of salt, we try to level that as well. Yeah. And next we're going to put in cinnamon. So for that, it's 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Since I'm already using these white measurements of these spoons, that's what we're going to go in with. So 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And for our dry ingredients, that is it. So we're just going to whisk those together and then put it aside. So that's it for the dry ingredients. The sugar we will mix with our butter or margarine. So let's just do this. It's ready, so you'll put that aside. And next, we're going to prepare our banana mixture. For our banana mixture, we're going to mash some really ripe bananas. These bananas are dark because I wanted them really, really ripe so that they're really sweet for our mixture. I usually like to go from the back because I feel like those are the really ripe ones most of the time. So we are aiming to have a cup full of bananas. That's the measuring cup, the 1 cup I showed you. So let's do that. We usually mash those on a plate like this one. So let's just do that right now. I have my bin under here, so I'm going to throw the peels in it as we go along. I washed my hands before we began, so it's always important to make sure that your hands are clean, yeah? And we're going to mash them. So let's just peel them. I've realized that a cup full usually takes about 6 to 7 small bananas. If they're big, it's usually around 3. That's for the bananas here in Uganda that we call bogoya. So if you have the bigger bananas, you may need about 3. If you have the small ones, you may need about 6 or 7. One, two, three, four, 5. Let's try 6 for starters. We're just going to mash these and then we will use the measuring cup for that. So let's just mash our bananas, and you can do that with a fork. Some people blend them, but that makes them too watery. So let's just do that with a fork. You're going to try and make sure that you have mashed pretty much every part of the banana. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as close as possible. We're going to measure this and see if we need to add any more bananas. We're still using our cup, so we use that for flour. Let's just rinse it out. Yeah. So we used 6 bananas. The cup is almost full, but I feel like we need to add just 1 more banana and we'll be good to go. So let's add 1. Banana bread is one of my favorite snacks. I'm constantly talking about comfort food, but banana bread, oh my goodness, with a cup of tea, totally off the hook. So let's get this done. That's our 1 banana. Like I said, when you mash it, it doesn't have to be too fine. And there we are. We have our flat cup full of banana, which we are then going to transfer to this small bowl. And now we're going to add a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, or sodium bicarbonate, or baking soda, which is different from our baking powder. They're 2 different ingredients and they do similar things, but not exactly the same. So now we're going to do a teaspoon of baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate, into our bananas to activate them. So we mix that and activate it. It has become fluffy. And like I said, this activates your bananas. And now to this, we're going to add half a cup of yogurt. And it has to be plain yogurt. There are times when I haven't had plain yogurt and I've tried vanilla. Not too bad. but plain yogurt is perfect. So I have my plain yogurt here, which I'm going to use. It's usually about 4 tablespoons of yogurt if I'm right. So, or 5, 4 to 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 to just make sure it's full. So we're going to add that to our bananas. Remember, we put a cup of banana and then we put a teaspoon of baking soda, that is bicarbonate of soda, and we're adding this half a cup of yogurt. I know that there's banana bread you can make without without yogurt at all. But I like this particular recipe. I once saw it with an instructor in a cooking class, and I tried it and it was like nothing I'd ever tasted before. So there was no turning back for me. When I've tried other recipes, I've found that I just keep coming back to this one. And I really love banana bread. I'm sure you'll love it. So we've activated our bananas, we've added the yogurt, and we're now going to the last step, which is getting our other wet and dry ingredients mixed. So let's put that aside. And now we're coming to this bowl where we're going to put 1 egg. We're going to put 1/4 cup of melted margarine or butter. We're going to put sugar and vanilla. All that is going to go in here. So let's start with our egg. You can use a whisk for this, or you can just use a fork, which is what I typically do. I use a fork. And then we'll pour that into our big bowl. And we're going to add our sugar. So for this, we need 3/4 cups of sugar. Usually I don't fill them up that much because the banana is already sweet, so you don't need too much sweetness. Typically, a full cup would look something like this, but I try to make sure it's just slightly less. So that's it, 3/4 cups, slightly less than the 1/4 cup. Yeah. So we'll put that in there. And we're going to mix that up. It's so easy. In this same mixture, we're going to put our vanilla flavor. So we'll put about 2 teaspoons of that. And you'll find that we're actually about to finish with our mixture. Our last item to add here is going to be our melted margarine or butter. So let's melt our margarine in the microwave. And for that, we need about a tablespoon of margarine. So we're going to do that and melt it in the microwave for about 15 seconds. And we're going to use our 1/4 cup to measure that. And make sure that it's a full 1/4 cup. So let's just do that now. I feel like it's slightly less than what it should be, so I'm going to add just a little bit more, not too much. Now that's as full as it should be. You want it to hit the top because you don't want any mishaps with your measurements. Sometimes there's leeway for a bit of, being off with the measurements, but if you can get as close as possible to that, to what is required, then it's better. So we are mixing all this together. And just a reminder, in here we have 1 egg, 3/4 cups of sugar, with the cup slightly less than the quarter for each of them. We have 2 teaspoons of vanilla and a 1/4 cup of melted margarine or melted butter, or you can actually use cooking oil, whether it's sunflower oil, vegetable oil, whatever oil you're used to at home. You can use a 1/4 cup of that. I used to use oil, but I found that when I changed to margarine, it tastes better. So right now we have our 3 bowls. Like I've said, in this one, we have a 1/4 cup of butter, oil, or margarine. We have 3/4 cups of sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1 egg. And then in our bowl of flour, we have 1.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of flour, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then we have a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And in this, where we have our activated banana, we have a cup of banana, which came to about 7 small bananas. If they're big, usually it's around 3 big bananas. So we have the bananas, we have a teaspoon of baking soda or bicarbonate of soda, and 1/2 cup of yogurt, and that's plain yogurt. So we are going to put all this together, and we're about to finish mixing this. Can you imagine? So we're going to put our banana mixture in here. I think a spoon is always better for this. So, and as we prepare to mix that, since we're going to go into baking immediately, it's important that we heat up our oven right now. So let's do that. I bake almost everything at the same temperature, which is about anywhere between 160 to 170 degrees. So we have preheated our oven so that by the time we're getting to baking, it's good and ready. So we are mixing this together. And then we're just going to put our dry ingredients in here. And the thing is, you can actually put them all in at once. Like with the making of any cake, you start by folding that in, folding your flour into your wet ingredients. And after you've folded in as much as you can, then you can go on to mix any way you prefer, as long as it all comes together as one amazing batter and mixture. I'll always have a spoon on hand to make sure that the parts that are not going directly into it, can be scooped off the side. And we're almost done, guys. This doesn't take long at all. So with this banana cake, if you want to, some people call it banana bread, some people call it banana cake. With this particular one, if you want to, or if you're a fan of raisins like I am, you can add some raisins at this point, but you don't have to do that. You can just bake it as is and we will be good to go. So as our oven heats up, we're going to put some margarine in here to make sure that the cake does not stick. Oh my, I almost threw that down. We're going to make sure that it doesn't stick on the pan. We had a little mishap when we were making our coconut cake, and the coconut cakes got stuck in the pan, but I realized that happens at times when you change the kind of measuring cups you use. Typically, I use my orange measuring cups that I showed you just a few minutes ago. But for the coconut cake, I was trying the white ones and that didn't work at all. So I decided to go back to my default, what I am used to. And as you grow in your baking journey, or even as you cook, you'll begin to realize which measurements work for you. So we are done with this mixture. We're going to put some butter in the pan and get ready to bake. I'm going to try a different method with the pan this time to butter it, and that's going to be using a brush. So let's put this aside and get ready to do that, and then we'll be good to go and bake. The most important thing is to make sure that the whole pan is well greased. So usually I use the foil that comes in the margarine tin. But this time, and sometimes I'll actually use my fingers, but I figured I'd try a brush and it seems to be working pretty well. So this is your typical kitchen or baking brush. Previously, when we made cinnamon rolls, I used it to glaze the cinnamon rolls. Let me just add a little bit more of that. Wow. I hadn't used a brush in a while for this because I didn't think this particular brush could do it. But I'm loving the results. I think from now on, I'm going to be using this particular brush. So that's it. We're greasing our pan. And after greasing it, it's important that we neutralize any excess margarine by using some flour. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And so for the neutralizing, we just put in a little bit of flour like that, not too much, yeah. And then we shake that up a bit so that in case there is any excess fat, it will not compromise our cake and our cake will come out very easily. So that's how that looks. And now we're going to put our mixture in there and we're good to go. I usually make this for the kids when they're going to school, but it's the weekend right now. So I'm thinking since it's going to be a delicacy for me this weekend, I'd like to add some raisins. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm back with my raisins. Raisins are actually some of my really favorite snacks. I just love raisins. There's a time I was watching my weight and I would pack these in a little pack in my handbag and nibble on them. So there's no particular measurement. I just like to do about a handful of raisins, which I think is about half a cup. And you can put in the kind till you feel like, there's a whisper saying stop. But I love raisins, so I can put in, a lot. So I think this is enough, about a handful. But everyone's hand, is also a different measurement. So we can't really say that. But you'll measure and see what works for you. If you want it to have a lot or not. Yeah? And now that we are done, we're going to pour that into this pan and get to baking. It's usually great if it takes up like 3/4 of the pan, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. You don't want the pan to be too full because then it could, pour over. I'm concerned that this could be a bit much, but let me see how to fix that. I might make about 2 cupcakes. I wouldn't want this to flow over. So I'm thinking of reducing it, and then I'll use whatever remains to make a couple of cupcakes. When it's too much, it flows over, and then as you try to get it out of the tin, it can be a nuisance. So just 3/4 way full should be good enough. And that is it. So here it is. We are ready to put it in the oven and bake. It should take about anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half. It depends on what oven you have. But I usually bake, right now I'm going to be baking it at about 170 degrees, and let's see how long that will take. It will likely take about an hour. If it takes more, I'll share with you, but it's an easy and quick recipe and you get to enjoy this. So let's get to baking. And we'll be back in about an hour to check how we're doing. See you soon.
A few moments later.
And so we are back. This took about an hour and a half, or maybe an hour and 20 minutes to get ready. And we're ready to cut it, taste it, dig in, enjoy. It smells really good. So let's try to get it out of the tin. We're going to do a first try and see if it comes out. And if it doesn't, then we're going to have to go in the sides and see what's up. Let's try this. Perfect. Yeah, so that came out perfectly. We're going to turn it around. It's gorgeous. I want us to cut it. And so we're going to go ahead and cut it. It's usually, I had come with my table knife because I thought the cake might stick in the pan, and it didn't do that. So at this point, we're just going to cut it up and taste it. This is a really quick recipe. So in a very short time, no less than 2 hours, you're done with the whole process of baking it. When I'm cutting, I usually like to cut in the middle. So let's do that. This is I call it a bread and cake knife. I think it has another name, but I have no idea what the other name is. So let's cut that up and see how cute it is. It's so cute, so pretty. Let's cut a slice. It's a bit hard on top, but what you usually do with that is make sure you put it in an airtight container once it's a little bit cool, and then the top will definitely soften. I left it in a little bit longer because I like mine darker, like this. Now, sometimes when you make this banana bread, it's even darker than this, depending on how ripe the bananas are. And different kind of bananas yield a different color. So your banana cake will constantly be a different color. And that's what is so beautiful about life and about God, and how different and amazing He has made things. When I think of bananas and the fact that every single time I make a banana cake, it's not going to be the same exact color, I think of how amazing God is, that He has made each of us very different, and yet such a pleasing essence to Him. Like, this cake is going to be very tasty. I'm about to dig in and bite right now, but I just wanted to share with you that you are so dear to your Maker. You are gorgeous. It doesn't matter which color you are, just like the different colors of the banana cake. It doesn't matter that you're very different from your friend. Maybe you're quieter, maybe you're louder, maybe you're pushy and hardworking. Maybe you're just very laid back. A few minutes ago, we are just having some discussions with our friends here on the camera crew and talking about temperaments and how different we are. And God has made us like that. So as we end this and as we dig in, like I always say, please share this with friends, welcome them to be a part of this community, and please like, share, subscribe, follow, do all that, whichever platform you found me on, and have a blessed week. Mwah. Let me taste this. Hits every single time. Bye, everyone.